Today's just a really weird and intense day, and I first just want to preface this with a trigger warning because some of the topics we may touch on today include alcoholism, death of a pet, life and death concepts in general. I think that's it. Now that that's out of the way, I don't know, my mind is just a jumbled thing, and I guess I just want to start off with I don't know. I guess I don't know. I'll just feel bad about affecting people, and I don't need to. It is my channel. I did the trigger warning. If people aren't getting anything out of this, it's not enjoyable to listen, it's not benefiting anyone at all. Like, if it's stressing you out, if it's not benefiting you, please click off. Obviously, you would do that if you weren't enjoying it. So that's okay. It's just, I do seem to get a lot of benefit from talking in this way, because I was realizing I still get the vulnerability hangover from talking to people, like physical people in real life. I'm not there yet where I don't tend to ruminate and just feel uncomfortable about having shared to a person physically there. And also, I'm just such a big communicator. Like, I'm just a big vocal person. I like to talk, if you haven't noticed yet. I've always been a talker, and I think that's how I personally process things. So it's just not the same writing in my journal. I've spoken about this before, that I struggle to, I like writing songs and things like that, or poems sometimes. Like, my songs first start off as poems, but I struggle so much to actually process like what's really going on. Like, I kind of don't want to touch it in my journal. Like, I avoid it, and I just find it weird to write out like, so this happened, and then I don't know, it's just so much different than talking about it. It almost is like the talking gets it still, like the writing is not enough almost. Like, it's a voice in its own way in a book. But for some reason, the talking out loud sort of actually gets it like out a bit more, out of my body, like more distance from the thing or the stress. So today I ended up breaking no contact with my family, but the beginning of the day was just weird and stressful. I woke up to, like, my partner has struggled with alcoholism, but he'll be sober for like quite a while, and then he'll drink a day or two or something, and then not feel well at all, and then not drink for so long. But it's also his birthday today, so last night he wanted to have some drinks, and I have learned over the years about, in my experience and stuff, like, it doesn't really work to try, and it's just not healthy to like try to control the other person. Like, how I feel like it's the healthiest to deal with is kind of like make your own personal boundaries with it and what you're okay with, and then act accordingly. But like, you cannot control someone's behavior. And then also, like, I want to be able to do what I want to do, even if I'm making unhealthy choices. Like, yesterday I talked about wanting the junk food, and excuse me, like, I don't want someone, say, policing what I can put into my own body and stuff. But like, I will let him know. I'll kind of encourage, I'll be like, maybe it is controlling and stuff, but I will be like, hey, are you sort of done? You know, like, to not have one more drink, right? To be like last night I was sort of doing that, like, hey, like, could you be done now? And that, like, I wasn't like, you have to be done and that, but like, it's so hard to navigate though. It's so hard to navigate. Like, it's hard to watch someone you love. It's just hard not to also worry. And there was like one time that I called 911 on him because he just seemed really I was just worried about alcohol poisoning or whatever. And then I even just felt a bit bad because the guy that came over was kind of being critical to, he's like, hey, you really made like your girlfriend worry, and he was being like harsh with him, and then I felt bad. And then but this morning, like, so he wasn't intoxicated, he didn't seem at all intoxicated at all. I had asked when he last drank, but he was just like, I woke up to him throwing up very intensely, like very intensely, and I just, it's hard to like hear that. And I was asked, he kept saying he was okay though, but he was just really, he sounded like he was dying. And there's like one other time that it was sort of similar to that, but this was like the time that it's never been this intense ever in my experience, and like I just was getting stressed and concerned. So I almost, like, I got close to calling 911 because it's just, I am just a worrier, obviously. Like, if you've been watching me, you know I have anxiety, I worry. It is to a minimum though with me. Like, I have, my triggers haven't as much been like if I haven't heard from someone or something, I don't as much in that circumstance go to like, oh no, they died, or like I haven't had as like too much of an excessive worry about friends or family dying or something bad happening. Like it takes certain symptoms or certain amount of something for me to start to consider or worry, like, what if this is really dire, or like what if, you know, his fluids are getting too low, I don't know. And I, like, to help me, I will just look up the symptoms of alcohol poisoning. And what freaked me out is, like, he was coherent and everything the whole time, so it had been quite a few hours. So he just was like having physical effects, but cognitively, like, the main symptoms of, like, one of the main symptoms of alcohol poisoning is like they aren't making sense and they're like kind of incoherent or like unconscious and stuff. But he was talking and stuff and that, but he just sounded like in utter agony and just like gagging and gagging and gagging, like, constantly, and just like in a lot of distress. And so, but at one moment, because I had Googled the symptoms and about the alcohol poisoning, and one of the things was saying like getting really cold, even having like a risk of hypothermia, like your body temperature gets really low. So like all of a sudden my partner was immediately just so cold, like he just like ran, he was like cold, really cold, really cold. And he yeah, he like ran to the bedroom and was like, you know, heater, warm blankets, like we have heated blankets or whatever. Or he was just like blanket, heater, cold, I'm so cold, I'm so cold. And so I just freaked. I'm like, is his, I didn't really freak on the outside. I just started then to like get concerned of that sort of symptom, and he had been sort of sweating, and I was like trying to just like see if his facial color, they say that you can look pale and stuff, and I just like started, it's like, and he's so opposed, like, I think about it first and then I maybe broach it with him, but like other times with different things, be like, hey, sorry, I'm like mentally checking out because I'm stressed, whatever. But where am I going with this and what was I saying? Oh yeah, he's very resistant to help, but like if you know you're okay and you're not dying, yeah, you're gonna be like, please don't call, like, I'm fine, like I don't need the ambulance here or anything. But with him, I just feel like he really takes on a lot before it's like he's just like one time we went to, he was having like a weird heart symptom thing or something, and I guess it did end up ultimately like being okay. Or no, sorry, it wasn't that. Something was happening with his eyesight, and it was just sketchy because like sometimes you get a symptom and it can be sort of harmless, and then or it's like, this is a sign of a stroke or something, and like it's just good to get checked out. Like, we went to the hospital finally for that, and then he was like, it was a bit of a wait and stuff. So he was like, we left the hospital, like he was just like, oh, it's okay, let's go. I think it's okay, like it stopped, it's fine, let's go. And I was like, it's good to just fully get checked out, like we're here and that. But then he wanted to go, so we leave, and then it was like happening again in the cars. Then we go back, and then he did get fully checked out. It ended up being like an oral migraine or something, but then it, like, that thing just never went away. Unfortunately, he still has like an eyesight, I don't know, I just feel bad for him with a lot of different things. He's got like a chronic nausea that just like he just gets these like mysterious illness things that like never go away. Like the nausea that he's had has, he's 40 now, and it started when he was like younger than 15 even. Yeah, he was in like elementary school, and then he's just been through the gamut. So the thing too is like he is used to enduring such physical discomfort and things like that. I feel like when he has some extra thing, he's just used to, like, yeah, I just get really worried about, like, what if he's really not okay, and he's just being like, no, I'm okay, right? Like dismissing it, and almost like maybe dismissing it within his own, like maybe he really is feeling it, but it's like, oh, he's like justifying his brain. So anyways, he was like, I'm okay. I don't know. I ultimately decided not to call because I think the vomiting and stuff like started to sort of subside and this and that. And then like, but during that, I had noticed that one of our cats, this is a cat that my partner had cats before we were together. And so we had, like, less than a year ago, we had to put one of the senior cats down. And like we had like 4 cats at one time, but we put one of them down. She was pretty old, less than a year ago now. So then we had 3. I have like my own sort of cat, like younger, but my partner had like the 3 cats before we were together. So the other sort of senior cat has been for a while now kind of having issues. Like even a year or 2 ago, we got some tests done for him, and like twice. It's just they kept being inconclusive both times, but they were like abnormal. Yeah, the blood tests were kind of abnormal, but it's like not elevated enough or low enough levels to make any diagnosis or to really even kind of treat it. Like you can't figure out what's wrong, right? So he had been having issues, and then a little bit ago he puked up blood, and at that time I got really worried and stuff. I think that was like a week and a half ago or something like that, and I thought at that point I did get really stressed, like, oh no, this is like not good, this is serious. And in that instance too, like I do immediately go to, like, yeah, I go to Google and I start like looking up and thinking this is really bad, and then you start like prepping yourself to, like, the cat's gonna pass and stuff like that. And that cat, like, I wasn't as maybe attached or close to, like, I almost feel bad saying that, like I do call it more like my partner's cat, because he had the cats, like I just didn't have as much of a bond with him, and he was like a little bit more of a solitary kind of cat and stuff. But I still like get so stressed and just like, oh no, the cat's not okay. And you process, like, you know, having to let go at that time. But then he came back, and like we were just gonna monitor him, see like if it keeps happening or something, we'll take him in again. So it maybe he went so many days, and then maybe happened kind of one other time, but not anyways, basically it progressed. Like last night, he must have been puking up blood last night, because as this stuff was going on with my partner and he was sick and stuff, like as I was walking around the house, I was noticing different spots of blood that, sorry, yeah, it's intense, and it's sad. So I then realized the cat was having his thing, and then I didn't immediately, I was just figuring out if I was gonna call 911 with my partner or something. And then when I decide, like when I went and got him some stuff, I got him like some coconut water, some ginger ale. He was kind of refusing to, it was like hard to even get him to drink water. I was just worried about him losing so many fluids and stuff like that. I just, I was like, I'm just gonna get him some things in that, and then I'll deal with the cat situation. I just like felt better having some things on hand, being like, hey, get a bit of sugars in you, have some coconut water. So after I did that, like, because at the time I'd noticed the blood going on with the cat, and then I also just felt so bad for my partner that he's going through it right now. Like, I just understand like addiction way more now, and alcoholism, and I used to be really not helpful in the past. I used to get like mad. I used to get mad when he was drunk, or when he was, I don't know if I did when he was hungover. Maybe though I was like expressing disappointment even, I'm sure, or just like having a mood visibly. Maybe not. I do kind of just like, especially if he's actually like sick in that, I'm kind of like so concerned about, it's like, please don't feel bad at all. Like, let's just get you better. It's all good. So where the fuck, why, I don't know what I'm talking about. I just felt bad about how he was feeling, and then I was like, oh my god, his cat, like, I didn't know, I didn't say at first, I wasn't sure what was going on, and then I was like, this is just the worst day, because it's like his birthday, the cat's dying, he's just feeling absolutely horrible, like vomiting stuff, and I'm like, I gotta take this cat into the vet and figure out or make a decision of like. So anyways, yeah, I called the vet. I just said, hey, you know, this is what I saw with the cat, you know, he's not doing well, I have to call the vet and try to get him in. So I called, and the lady on the phone was like, yeah, she just sort of prepped me for the cats because of his age and stuff, like he is probably gonna have to be put down. And so yep. And then yeah, I had to, take the cat in, and he had to get put down, and I just felt, at the time, like, yeah, I felt the feel, it's just like, that type of thing's always obviously gonna be really, really uncomfortable, and, even when it's not as much like your cat, like, I just couldn't help but be emotional, going through that process and stuff, and then I just will start to feel guilty of if there's something that I did. Like, this cat has had so many different types of problems and stuff over the years, and so at one time, like when he was having those inconclusive blood tests, like his symptoms very much reflected hyperthyroidism. So I thought that's like what he has, and then when the blood work came back, it was like, yeah, we can't diagnose him, like we can't do any treatment because he's not enough. His levels were still, it was like on the cusp of, I think, being hyperthyroid or something, but it was still not whatever elevated enough or whatever it is to like do any treatment, because the treatment's pretty intense and harsh. So this cat was still having like, he just gets like he would get like excessive thirst, hunger, like be eating kind of all the time, but like almost never satisfied, and other symptoms like urinating a lot, or sometimes like out of the litter box, like it was just like these things. And I was like, oh, I finally figured it out. So anyways, I gave him some, my friend actually, her cat had hyperthyroid, and she got this herbal stuff online, so I thought I would just try this like herbal stuff for our cat. His name is Stinky, and it did seem like it helped. Like his coat got shiny all of a sudden. His coat was like so dull and this, and he was always like more of a nervous kind of cat, and he just like turned into a different cat, like personality wise and stuff like that. And so this herbal stuff seemed to be happening. Like sometimes he's had like pancreatitis before, or just like normally he will either, sometimes he gorges on his food, pukes it up, or he just will puke. He's just more prone to that. So he already has like this sensitive stomach, but like sometimes if I gave him some of the herbal stuff, like if it was, I think, maybe too much, like he would be a bit sensitive to it, he'd be like puking it a bit more. But when I had it like a decent sort of dose or something, like he seemed just like so much better in that and everything. And then I just like stopped giving to him and stuff, like, okay, that's enough. And then like for a while, and then the symptoms that have been going on prior to the herbal thing like would come back, so then I give him again. And then I'm like, when I was at the vet and she did blood work today before we had to say goodbye, a new thing sort of came up that hadn't come up before about his liver was really not doing well. The herbal stuff I had been giving him, like I had cut that off. When he puked up the blood the first time, I don't know if I was even giving it to him up until that, or like a few days before, or like maybe like I don't know. I just like stopped the herbal whatever I was giving him completely a while ago. Like he has not had it since this like week or 2 week long thing, and then he's been puking again, so he had not had any of it or anything. But I still, like, when I heard, I don't know, his liver had this big, like, I just was like, what if I did something bad? Like, I don't know. Like, what if that, I don't know, it helped with some of the symptoms, but then it caused, like, a toxicity to his liver. Like, I just can't help but look for and blame myself. Years ago, another thing happened. Like, my partner had got me a plant, and I'm not used to, like, at the time I didn't know about cats. I'd never had cats, and I just, like, cats, I feel like way more than dogs are prone to, like, chewing plants. And I think maybe it's the same-ish, but, like, cats, certain plants especially, like, so toxic to cats. I just didn't really know that at the time. And this plant, we had never known the species of the plant, and this cat would chew a bit on the leaves, but, like, not visibly get sick at all from it. Like, maybe he'd, like, puke it up or spit it out. And, like, since then I've had, like, cat safe plants can still, like, upset their tummy a bit, even though, like, they're not toxic at all or anything. I don't know. It didn't seem like anything was happening. And then, so we didn't think anything of it because he had already chewed on this plant and then nothing happened. So then I never thought it could be toxic. And then when he got the pancreatitis thing, because I searched for what have I done, because yeah, maybe I have done something bad. I looked up, because I couldn't find the species of plant tube prior, maybe, or I tried, or I just thought, oh, it must be fine because he already chewed it and he's fine. I don't know. I somehow found out that it, like 99% sure it was a banana plant, which it was saying was quite toxic to cats. And at the time that we went to the vet, then with when they diagnosed him with pancreatitis, I told them that whole thing. Like, as he was going, I immediately started, like, trying to figure out what plant it was, being like, was it this plant? Excuse me. And then I told them and stuff too, and was like urgent on, like, I think it could be. They're like, oh yeah, no, we don't think, because the way that the toxic plant causes issues is, like, maybe a different way they thought or something. Like, I still to this day, when I had to say goodbye to the cat, like, when I'm hearing about these complications, like, I'm still also like, did that plant screw him up, like, long term? Did it damage his organs? The way at the time that I was concerned about it, the first time that I think they said about it, was it's either, like, it's not like this prolonged, like, it's like they either get, toxicated or whatever it is initially, and then they either kind of are okay or not. Like, once they're okay, like, I think it's detoxified. I don't know, but I brought that up to the lady today. I brought up the herbal thing. She wrote down the different ingredients in it and said she'd get back to me of, like, because maybe it could have caused something. And then I kind of went home, talked to my partner about the prognosis, because the only other option was to try to further diagnose exactly what it was that was the issue for him. But she's like, there's a high chance it's, like, stomach cancer, and it, like, if they had tried to do some sort of ultrasound or really extensive testing and found, okay, it's specifically this thing, like, at that point in time, the treatment options probably wouldn't have been possible to actually treat and reverse. And then also, he had the liver issues. Liver levels were so elevated, and then he was also really anemic, because I guess also he had been losing the blood. So she was even saying, like, to fix his liver issue, like, he was going to start going into jaundice. She was like, to fix his liver issue, she'd have to flush his liver in that, but then it was really sketchy with the anemia. Like, it could make him even more anemic, and he was already so anemic. So it's just hard, because, like, every other experience with pets I've had, like, having to put them down, they've been appearing way more in their last days. And she said, like, yeah, you know, it's not like he's like hours away from dying or anything like that. Like, he seemed kind of fine. Like, over the last couple weeks, though, he's been sort of walking a little bit, maybe more slowly, or just like being more of an older cat. He was at least like 15 or something. So, but the first time he had puked up the blood, he totally looked in pain and was like hunched over and looked really uncomfortable and like had such a hard time walking and stuff. But like none of that was happening at all today. I just saw these spots around, but other than that, he didn't like look or seem sort of sick. So it was just really hard to, I've had experience with vets before that it's a hard job too. Like, they're not as direct. Like, I sort of, you know, come to my own conclusion. I'm like, would it be okay to okay, you know, I've talked about end of life with my partner and that, and then she just like validated and was like, it'd be totally okay to do that today and that, and she didn't want to wait any more than like maybe 3 days, like a few days to, like, I had to just sort of, because it's like, oh well, we could do that, and I'm like, but you know, would there be treatment if, it's just like hard to like take on more of what to do, like this, like, I do obviously want someone else to just tell me what to do sometimes, like fully directly or whatever, but like we definitely came to that conclusion, and I know the vets are just very sensitive about it, and it can be a lot. So it was just tough because my partner wasn't able to be there, and so I kind of felt bad for him, and then on his birthday of all days that this happened. So, but like, I don't know, I feel like I personally believe in reincarnation and stuff, or like I can have a different way of viewing life and death. Like, I truly just feel the spirit like is at peace, like in a better type of a place, even like it's like they're okay. Like, I feel that's how I sort of feel. But it's sad for us, like when we have that loss, like we're the ones that feel that sort of loss. But I feel like it is just the circle of life, not to quote the Lion King, but it's just like, yeah, I don't know. And it could have gone where, like, you know, he was at like at least like he wasn't suffering. Like, it's hard and awkward and really uncomfortable when you say goodbye to a cat and like they seem still so much alive. Like, it's just different than when they're clearly dying in agony and in pain. So it was just like hard for him to go from that to passing. But then it's like, well, he didn't feel this like pain, or it wasn't this like agony for days, or this like horrible last days. Like, he kind of was like okay, it seemed, and then he's now one with the collective consciousness of whatever. So, but I ended up, like, today as well, I hadn't really checked my voicemail. I like how now, at least on iPhone for voicemail, because I just never check my voicemails, and but they have a feature now where you can just, it translates it to text. Like, you can just go in your phone app pretty easily, click on voicemail, and then you can just click on who left a message, and then it's like all transcribed just right there, and you can read it really quick and look through it and stuff. So I had mentioned the other live stream that my birthday was a few days ago. It was June 11th, and at the time I knew, like, my dad had texted me or whatever, but I had never seen this, like, I didn't know he had left a voicemail. So I saw that, and or I did listen to it, and he had said, I know we're doing like no contact, but I wanted, or what do you say? Something like, I know I'm not supposed to contact, or you're doing no contact, something about like, I don't know, you're doing your no contact thing or whatever it is, and but just wanted to wish you a happy birthday, and and I didn't know that he sent that, or like, it's just been weird because it's weird assumption, like I don't know how much people know. And then I did get confirmation that he because after that I did reach out because I was like, oh, he has an idea of something or thinks like, oh, we're supposed to, like, you don't want contact, so we're supposed to not have contact, whatever. So then I did reach out and just say that I had heard his message, and that, like, where he got the, like, where he knew or saw about the no contact thing. But I also clarified that it wasn't with him, like, it's with different family members, there's been a different protocol that I've personally sort of done. And so he said, I saw your post, like your YouTube post. I don't think I hope to God he didn't like watch my video. It's just uncomfortable. Like, he knew of my channel before I started talking about more stuff and like stuff with my family, and I wasn't itching to talk about them at all and wanted to keep everything completely anonymous, like to not even say the relationship to each person or whatever. But it just got confusing. It just like wasn't possible to do, to be able to express what's going on. And like, just the most healing that I've had, it seems, is getting this out in some way, like to talk about it. And at the time I started posting about it, I was like, there's nothing else I feel like I can post right now, because this is like active in my life and everything. And I had always wanted to talk about mental health stuff. And then just I was realizing so much, it was fully clicking. I have been researching it and like how to actually really move through my experience and different emotional traumas that happened. Was it was directly related, like, to the relationships and things. Like, it wasn't just like Alyssa's mentally ill. Like, Alyssa just has her mental illness because she was just born that way, and it's for no reason. Like, I didn't realize at the time, like, the huge connection between like how I personally was showing up in my relationships and stuff like that, or realizing ways that maybe in the past, or some ways maybe still presently, that I felt there was like dismissive sort of patterns or things that like I had to work out that was what it was. Because then I started to realize kind of this whole time that my reaction, or like this stuff staying in my subconscious and like actively expressing itself on a daily basis of how I navigate through my life, was kind of a normal reaction to what had happened. And then, but this, like, what I had done was like totally just stuff down my feelings. Like, there was a time that I maybe tried to talk about my feelings, or when I was like a lot younger, or throughout the years. And then there was just like forms of just being dismissed, or it just like wasn't, I also really didn't have as much of a sense of a self as I do now. Or like, I didn't know that was dismissive. I didn't even know, like, I just felt so horrible and icky about myself. And I always just walked away with feeling like I'm the icky problem, pretty much. Like, at least internally, like, even if outwardly I was like, it just, yeah, I don't know if I ever felt truly like I'm not wrong for this. Like, there was maybe like, I'm upset and hurt, but still like, but it's me, like, and not like, why should they care, or like not be how they are. But then that's like a tricky thing too, because should people be any other way than what they are? No, they shouldn't at all. But it's sort of like it's maybe just like different parental relationships of like, they should do what they are capable of doing or how they show up. But it's sort of like the book that I expressed, I talked about in the, not the last, I don't know, talked about a few live streams, The Myth of Normal by Gabor Mate. Just really him expressing, like, you know, if a child goes through this experience or something, if the parent is this way, and the book is, it expresses, it's not to blame parents or anything like that, but it's saying like, these can be, like, these are kind of the long-term effects of if this is how a child was my brain will want to check out a lot of times, and like I guess it's not a full dissociation, but it's like a mild form of dissociation, because the book talks about dissociation, and I use that. I've been using that word, being like, oh, I've dissociated, but the book was saying technically, like the way I've been using it is not actually legitimately with, you know, in regards to the scientific term, actual dissociation. Like dissociation is like you actually do kind of leave your body in a way. Like it's more like checking out. I just like mentally check out, and I can't even control it. I feel like it's just another thing I'm realizing, like what's going on, and with my lack of attention and focus with certain things and tasks, like ADHD like symptoms, the having some sort of a stress or trigger thing, and then like my brain checks out. But yeah, it's just the book it's been really illustrating, it's just been like validating. There was more fine details of ways that certain times I felt I didn't really get emotional support or something, or specific support for a certain task. I don't know. I talked about, if you saw my live stream, about processing childhood trauma at 2 a.m. when I'm trying to sleep. You'll know about the sad story of the pet frog, in which I had a lot of stress about at the time, that I think I just shut down, and I just didn't get like the support to, when I was quite young, to help like feed it, and then just go, like blaming myself that I was not strong enough or capable, like when a parent had like refused to help me feed it after a certain point in time, live crickets that scared me. And then it's sort of like, it's like normal that I walked away from that experience having been impacted in a specific sort of way, and it's not to blame. It's like so normal that it's normalized, or like it's like so many parents, even if you're like the perfect parent, like there doesn't have to be any, the book was talking about like there doesn't have to be any abuse at all. Like there can be no child abuse whatsoever, but there can be like different experiences that can impact the child, that even like causes the kid to grow up and have a drug addiction or something as a result of just unprocessed feelings and emotions and stuff like that. So anyways, I was realizing that stuff, of course, and I felt more equipped to, like, so yeah, I cleared things. My dad was fully agreed to have a conversation with a mediator or whatever. We're going to talk, and I just wanted to, I don't need to, I don't want to like go into detail, like, now that he knows that I like talked about things, I don't know how much he knows that, like, on the internet, like I feel just bad, and like I've always wanted to just not really actually do that, like protect these people, but I also just want to share my story and my experiences and like navigating through it. Like it's just hard to balance the two things. But I did just feel like it was because I had been posting about this like no contact experience and stuff, I just thought it was fitting to sort of like update on the timeline of like, okay, I chose to make contact, and with multiple people, like different levels of contact, like, you know, a check-in, a phone call with different person. But yeah, to give my dad credit, like when I was sort of at the time saying it, like there definitely, I don't know, I was holding like weight to like me having expressed that I needed a mediator to resolve things, like, you know, that things need to be resolved, thinking that like he remembered that. And I guess he didn't know, he just, I don't know, I guess he just thought like I went no contact for no reason, or like he just wasn't really interested in knowing why. Like some people obviously, I started off this live stream saying I'm a talker, I'm a communicator, I'm very talky, and other people aren't as much. Like I am one to talk about the things, and I just cannot compartmentalize and like separate, like, oh, I feel like I don't know, annoyed about this thing, that, but I'm just gonna like stuff that feeling down and just like go on, like everything's fine. Like it's just too surface level. Like I am just like I'm a deep person, and I like don't have, especially anymore, I can't with the people pleasing, and a lot of times like I don't make appearances just to make appearances, in a way sort of like it's more intentional. I don't know, even when I made contact with a few of the other family members, was I people pleasing? I don't it was intentional. It has really been affecting me to not have contact. I like will feel okay, and then I just feel sad, and because I don't wish to not necessarily be present in all these people's lives. I just want to show up how I want to and feel comfortable with. And it went really well, because when I talked to my grandma, she just seemed like happy to just be talking to me, and like I just thought it might be like, why haven't you called, or where have you been, or something like that, and it wasn't that at all. So like, because I've changed my own behavior, she's accepted that, it seems, whereas in the past I just felt constantly, at times I felt shamed about not calling her enough, and like she had made it known she likes to be called. There was just like a standard for a while about calling my grandparents like every single day. That's too much. It's too much for me, and other people just like didn't understand why it affected me. Like I tried to explain to my mom that 5 minutes, even like I don't know why, but like it does impact, like I get affected energetic wise. I don't know if it's heavy energy or something like that. And it's like, well, it's just 5 minutes, all you have to do is this and that. Like she was trying to tell me to call her and that. And first of all, I don't let anyone anymore like tell me what I should do. Like, and at that time too, I said I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do now. But I used to just allow myself to be controlled by the other. They weren't controlling me. Like I was allowing it. Like I was agreeing to it. My soul was like believing the lies of like I should do this, I should do that, or the guilt. And so that's not true anymore. But so yeah, it's like it's hard to navigate, because I personally, from my life and experience, like I don't think like no contact at all is not necessary, but I did need like a certain amount of chunk of time to unenmesh and stuff like that. And I do just need to own my own feelings and be like, yeah, I get affected, I'm a sensitive person. And so far, like, it's like, okay, people are accepting me as the new me with these boundaries, or how much I choose to communicate and whatever. And yeah, it seems even my mom has been quite respectful of it and stuff like that. Where I was expecting a different response, or in the past, maybe things didn't go as well, but I also didn't assert myself really, and allowed myself to be manipulated in ways. So yeah, like I know other people, it's just I'm just here validating like other people choosing to go complete no contact forever. To me, there's like such a spectrum and varying degrees of unhealthy patterns within people, families, like toxicity level, like what is healthy enough for you to be exposed to. Like if you're being exposed to some toxic shit that's just bringing you down, my opinion is just you gotta choose yourself. You gotta choose your own health over their feelings and stuff like that. So it's just, I'm having a difficult time, because it is kind of nuanced. Like it's not all one way or the other. Like I almost feel like it'd be easier if it was just like it would be more sad if like it was all one way, if like it was just total just not healthy, the like the extreme cases of like just like very abusive, that like it was so cut and dry that it's like, okay, I can't be around these people. They are not healthy enough to be around. But like that's not really the case. Like a lot of this has been like me and my own sense of self like intertwined with these other personalities and this and that, and I've just been so vulnerable and sensitive, like especially that I'm in this period of like finally actually validating my like me having my feelings. Like I have just been so sensitive to like people not being okay or defensive or upset with my feelings, but that's kind of a normal ish thing. Like I feel like certain people, I truly I feel that if someone is really defensive and stuff about, I feel a certain way, I'm not even accused, I just say, oh, I feel this way, or this thing caused me to feel this way. Like I feel like if someone is not secure in their own sense of self, they can either like they can get really defensive and sort of upset, and like because it's maybe affecting them, they're too like taking it personally, right? Like we all know the concept of like taking something too personally is like you're making it too about you or whatever. Like, and I do that obviously. I'm sure like that's where a lot of times it's different though. Like I feel like I can like where I take it personally, like I don't get defensive or upset, but I get like I take it personally when someone's defensive and upset at me, like, oh no, I did something wrong. I take it personally. It's like, oh, it's like me affecting these people, I did a bad thing or whatever. So I take it too personal that way. I like have too much empathy. Like, it's like not healthy empathy. It's like too much, because there's a healthy level of self-reflection in that, and but not getting like consumed by the feeling. And it's just as I become more solid in my sense of self and what I actually feel, like as I discover, as I decipher the feelings that I guess I unintentionally suppressed as a child or throughout my life, like as I rediscover and put a name to, ooh, I'm feeling this, like Alyssa feels a bit hurt, Alyssa feels a bit upset, and like valid, and like it's okay, and that's not something to dismiss myself and shove down even further. And you know, the more I do that, the more I feel like I am capable of interacting with different personalities that are maybe more prone to defend or just kind of emotional immaturity, like not able to, like having to just shut it down right away, like not able to actually like have that conversation, like resolve things. It's just like, oh no, feeling like, okay, let's just get along, like I don't know. It's just hard to like resolve a thing with something like that, but at least like maybe I'll be less affected. Like I can still just be okay with, it's fine, we couldn't get there, like I got to say my feeling, like maybe my feelings weren't heard, and obviously I'm making like assumptions of how future interactions, I guess, with different people whatever are gonna go, but it's just how it's gone. And I've just been confused. It's just since a young age, and I don't mean to try to boast about myself, but there were times like not perfect at all whatsoever, but I just like there were things that I just couldn't really understand when I was younger. Like I specifically think of this instance as maybe as an example of something where like I am just someone that like I just wanted to be real. Like I don't like passive aggressive or just like faking something and something's going on. Like basically there was this girl in my high school, like a bunch of friends, we were hanging out, we were like camping. And I actually carpooled with this friend. She was driving like her dad's truck, and so we were camping together in the back of the truck, like in a camper thing in the truck. She was like the person I went there with, but this person was known to be probably out of like insecurity. She was like more like, when I've talked about narcissism, like I mean like the full extent, like if you've researched and you know, like it's not just bragging about themselves and this and that. Like narcissism, say narcissistic personality disorder, like there's so much more to it, and it's sort of like all these extra things and patterns, or like gaslighting, this and that. Like, so when I'm talking about this person being narcissistic, I'm not talking about that full thing at all, like gaslighting and everything like that whatsoever. I'm just talking about like she was coming off as sort of like full of herself and arrogant, and I think it was probably maybe like out of insecurity, obviously, but like, so maybe she had this need to be overly whatever. And like, I just remember her, you know, she would just be like, oh, this guy texted me, or oh, this guy now likes me, and this and like, but like to an excessive degree. Like, it just sometimes it's just like she really was very into herself, like talking about herself, and just like not as much having a reciprocal. I don't know, I just, this camping trip, for some reason, during this camping trip, when we're all hanging out that night, like, she was really putting that on. Like, it was just like, when she was talking or hanging, like, from what I remember, it was like, oh, you know, so and so sent me this and this and that and whatever, and it just became like more excessive, and like that's what it was all about, and like people just stopped wanting to really talk to her, interact, because it wasn't really like a two-way conversation, or it was just like all about her and how all these guys were into her, or whatever. I don't know. So some people were staying in this like bigger actual camper trailer thing, and we were hanging out in there at one point. Like, I happened to be in there, but then when a group of us were in there, like someone or a few people or something, like they decided to lock this girl out of the thing. Like, I got enclosed in the camper with the other people. Like, someone was like, oh, like they were getting annoyed of her or something, and they just like, she was the only one excluded outside of the thing, like not be like, what's going on? Oh, like she got locked out, and like no one was telling her anything. Like, I was like, ew, I can't be here. Like, I gotta go and I gotta tell her, and it's so uncomfortable, and I don't like confrontation, and it's uncomfortable, and I risked like I did at that time risk her being really upset with me, and I'm the one friggin', she's my ride back. Like, how am I getting back? I'm sure, I think I just like carpooled with someone else, obviously, but like I was supposed to be sleeping right next to her that night, but I didn't plan where else I was gonna sleep, but I just immediately was like, this is just not, this is so uncomfortable. I just like can't do this at all. Like, she needs to know. It's gonna maybe hurt her feelings to tell her, you know, I think this is happening because of this. Like, people just feel a certain way, whatever. Yeah, so I did tell her. And so yeah, this was in high school. I think we were a little bit older. How old was I? I just forget if I put the timeline out there. So I wasn't like that little at all, obviously. At this point in time, I was like, I don't think we're in grade 12 yet. Maybe we were, maybe grade 11 or something like that. I just felt it was immature to lock someone out of a thing, and this, and then I felt really bad for her. Like, she's excluded, and also just the thing of it was like, she has no idea why. She doesn't even know why, and no one, it seemed, has like, this also behavior had been going on for years, of her coming out, like rubbing people the wrong way. And we would sometimes talk about it. Like, we wouldn't, I don't remember being all like gossiping all the time. It was just like something commented on, or a known thing of like, it would just seem so obvious and like overt. So it was like mentioned at least one time that she was sort of like that, but no one said anything to her face or like expressed anything. But then when it got to the point of her getting locked out of the thing, I felt like, yeah, I had to say something. So, because she was really confused, I had no idea why. And so I said, hey, I need to like talk to you, like, why, you know, I don't know, people are a bit put off by, I can't remember how I said it, but I just said sometimes she came off a certain way, maybe like full of herself in a way or something. I don't know what I said, but she was confused, and she had no idea she was even affecting people that way. And that's the thing too, is where a lot of times people have no idea, but so it really helps to at least, like, I am personally someone, if someone's not vibing with me, I want to know the truth. I don't want to really be phased out or ghosted at all, because I still have that uncertainty, because sometimes people are just busy or something. Like, if someone is just hanging out with me to placate me, like to be nice and just hang out to be nice, like people pleaser or whatever, like that makes me feel so icky and uncomfortable. And a lot of times I can sense like an energy hanging out with them, but then it gets confusing because it can just be my paranoia and anxiety of, and then also feeling insecure, like, does this person really want to hang out with me? Like, someone who, like, close people and stuff that have genuinely wanted to hang out with me, I still will sometimes, like, feel like they don't. So someone who actually doesn't, maybe, like, and then I feel that same thing, but then, and then if they say they do want to be there, but then they actually don't, and then I sense that, and then I am accurately sensing it, but it's so confusing, and it can be really uncomfortable and hard to, like, tell someone, hey, I'm sorry, I'm just, nothing you did to, like, we're just not resonating or something like that. Like, I just want to know the truth, because it wastes people's time too to just, like, continue in, like, friendships or something that aren't reciprocal, or, like, both people aren't vibing, and then you can, like, move on and then find and then you don't have to wonder, like, what's going on. I don't know. So I just expressed her some things, and she was pretty taken aback and shocked, and I didn't say she wasn't a nice person or anything, but her immediate answer or something was something like, I'm like, what? Like, I'm like the nicest person or something like that. And yeah, I didn't say, it wasn't about, like, her not being nice at all. It was just sort of like, people are a bit, like, I think you're coming off a certain way, just like, just tonight, like, it's just sort of like, I don't know, all about these guys. They're like, people I think are just sort of getting a bit tired of hearing just all about that, maybe. I don't know, but I don't know, I'm already, like, feeling uncomfortable just talking about it, like, if I said it the right way or whatever. I just, like, can't remember exactly what I said, but it was like, we still, I think, remained friends after that. Like, it was fine. She wasn't like that. She was obviously hurt and upset and probably felt so uncomfortable and, like, didn't want to be around me for a bit, maybe, or anyone, or, like, I don't remember going back with her. I probably slept in a different tent that night and that, but I felt like that was so much better and less hurt and pain on her end, like, versus, like, continuing to have people be haha laughing, locking her out of the thing the whole night. She's feeling like at least that conversation is, like, an opportunity for some sort of, like, that's connection to me. Like, it's uncomfortable, like, the disconnect that I often feel and stuff that makes me so fucking uncomfortable is the surface level shit that, like, there's clearly also something going on and something's not being said, and it's all subtext, and people are being fucking fake, and, you know, or passive aggressive, or just, like, not, yeah, being real or having their truth. Like, it's probably something that I've, like, that's caused a really intense, like, feeling in me, like, from a very young age, and I'm, like, more so really, really deciphering how to navigate that, or, like, validating, oh, that feeling, or maybe that extra anxiety or tension that I feel, or, like, especially in social situations and stuff, like, the whole small talk can be fine in that, in certain ways. It's, like, a certain type of small talk, but those types of things, or, like, I do get extra uncomfortable not knowing a person's deal, like, new people, right? And you're not sure, because it's hard for me to trust or know what's a mask and what's the real self in the person. And then I have had instances where I had a friend that I just, like, felt more, I kind of would have social anxiety around everyone, but it was like I've had this, like, a few times at least, for sure, like, well, I had it with my counselor, so it's been multiple times that, like, this has happened, where there's, like, this underlying extra uncomfortable feeling of, I'm not getting realness, like, I didn't know as much at the time that's what it was, and then after some shit goes down, and then I, like, realize, like, this friend was a mutual friend between, I had me and my close friend, I had sort of this mutual friend, and then we all would hang out, but then she would sometimes just hang out with her, and then, I don't know, some weird stuff happened, and then I ended up finding out, like, my friend had said that she would talk about me with her kind of in a critical way, or a weird way, and that my friend thought there was just, like, a weird thing going on, or some, like, almost jealousy of, like, me and that close friend's relationship that she was trying to figure out in a way. I don't know. She was, like, she had some sort of a thing was bothering her that I like would sometimes fall asleep on my friend's couch. Like we'd be watching a show or movie and I would like fall asleep, and she's like, "Oh, doesn't that like bother you that she like falls asleep?" Like I don't know. I don't know. It was some weird, she was on about something about me. And so yeah, I don't know. I had felt like this after I realized what it like I think there was like a fake like she was being also different to me, or like maybe there was something about me bothering her that she felt that she, I don't know, talked about me behind my back. And then but towards me in that, it was just like fine and normal. And it's just like sketchy. It's sketchy if someone has other, like we all though have, I think, like pettiness or annoyances and that, but like when it gets to the point of then like involving like the other friend and you're talking to her about it or not address, or like what really is the problem in that circumstance too, right? It's sort of like my friend wasn't talking to her and being like, hey, it kind of bothers me like when Alyssa does this and that, and like looking for support. And like I wouldn't even give a shit if someone, what, well, that though I would give a shit where if they like refuse to even talk to me about it at all, like address it with me if I'm the one you're having the issue with. But like if that friend group you could trust to like not be gossipy and then go to me and then gossip and this and that, like if they were just like, if she was just like, I want to approach Alyssa about this thing that bothers me, like what's the best way to do it? I was thinking of saying this or saying that. Like I don't care about people talking exclusively, just like talking about me when I'm not there at all, and like who am I to control that at all or anything but that. But then but it's the issue I have obviously is just like the indirect, like you're, I don't know, there's like an issue and like you're avoiding sort of direct, like I don't know, like something's yeah, it's just weird, something's happening and it's just like what is going on, and it just creates an energetic tension that I feel like I feel, and I'm sensitive to it. And the other thing I want to talk about is in general just being someone who ever since birth very sensitive, very sensitive. That's not to say that just because of my sensitivity, like the things that I've gone through in that, like it's me being sensitive and that's why I'm affected. The book, let's talk about the book again, The Myth of Normal. Like I'm realizing the sensitivity and stuff that I have, or my openness in, or wanting things to be more direct and real, like that to me is normal, and that it's normalized to do the fake thing, right? But like in this upside down world, I feel it's like I'm characterized as abnormal, or people with what we like to call mental illness and stuff like that. It's like they're so the abnormal ones, but I feel like now I do truly feel like those are connected people. Like we actually feel like we're there. Maybe we're present. Like we take it on. Like we're connected. Like the other people, maybe a lot of time they're disconnected from themselves, or also disconnected in a way like from the environment. Like they're numbed out in a way. They're shut off. I do numb myself out with TV and content, and it's because it's hard to feel and I don't want to feel, but for me there's like a layer of, I think I did experience a lot of it, like I didn't really, like as much, like as I'm uncovering some more other types of maybe repressed or suppressed like feelings about these things or that, like it's kind of not as much suppressed, like it is and it's not. Like I've always been such a big feeler and so emotional and so whatever, but it was like in a different way. It was just about the like I feel worthless and I feel this and that, but I feel like I've always been kind of feeling my feelings. And then there's obviously like a difference between feeling your feelings without judgment and like just feeling the sensation, like letting them flow. Like it's so fucking difficult for me because I feel it's so intense. Like I get like charged and like I have been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, which is one of the symptoms, but I'm not into the I like the labels in the context, I guess, of like, it's a really quick way to say the symptoms, you know, that encompass that thing, but it's so nuanced too. Like some people diagnosed with borderline, like they all have it different, and then, like there's like silent borderline and then other types, and then this, and it's like, oh, you experience it this way and that, or like you have 3 out of the 5 symptoms, and this other person maybe has 5 of the 5, and this other person has 4 out of the 5, and this other person has specific symptoms in these specific themes, and the other person has some of those symptoms in all these different themes. So it's like, obviously what it is just people coping. Like obviously what it is people having some sort of trauma, or like unprocessed shit, unprocessed emotions, like I'm a full believer now that like mental illness is, in my opinion, never for no reason. Maybe obviously, okay, if you have like a brain tumor on a specific part of your brain and it's like affecting you psychologically, or I do think the impact of certain foods and stuff I think that maybe more like exacerbates issues and stuff like that. Like I feel like there's still a little bit of something there, maybe, and that the reason why people are, myself included, like indulging in unhealthy foods or like not exercising, like doing the unhealthy coping mechanisms that further exacerbates the anxiety and depression stuff, is because like they already are not feeling well or okay, or have these friggin', like they're eating the food and stuff because of the unprocessed trauma. So it's kind of like a vicious circle, but it's like, would they be able to eat more healthily and stuff like that if they weren't traumatized? And that just brings me to the book talking about like with the food and stuff. The book, The Myth and Normal, talks about addiction. Gabor Mate has like a whole book on addiction. I'm really interested in reading his other books. So he was talking about, he did a lecture or something, and he got people to, what did he say? Like, have you ever, I can't remember what the definition of the addiction was, but it's basically like, have you ever done this or that, or like indulged in a thing that you didn't want to, or hadn't, or like, so basically, and then like raise your hand. So at the end of the day, everyone was pretty much addicted to something. Like his point was like, addiction's way more common than you think, and someone who's you know, full-time addicted to heroin on the streets, and that, it's like, that's just a more severe degree than someone who's watches a little bit too much Netflix, like myself. That like, you're not so far disconnected. Like he was basically challenging the idea of the addict gene, because there's apparently no science that actually backs that up at all. There's no way, there hasn't been like a way, they have not been able to isolate any type of gene. And even twin studies, which I never thought of before, you cannot account, okay, so twin studies, I used to think like, okay, if like, yeah, if you have twins and then they say they're raised in completely different types of environments, so these are twins that are separated, they have to be separated to like, to see, say, if like their upbringing has an impact on them or whatever. Okay, this one twin happened to be in this like very emotionally supportive whatever environment, and the other twin happened to unfortunately go through like abuse or something like that, like how they turn out. But they don't account for, like, the guy was like, they're already afraid and traumatized, they've been separated, these twins have already been separated from each other and have that's a trauma, like, so you can't say that the one that had the really emotionally supportive family and that like didn't go through trauma, or it's enough of a degree of trauma that it's can still like impact them. So because we talked about before, the book talking about like in utero trauma, even like the mother having a lot of stress and those chemicals, and yeah, I'm just like really having such a different perspective on everything that is so nicely validating. And it's just, I feel like most people are I thought I froze for a sec there. Most people are, I feel, maybe disconnected. Like, I don't know why I'm so extra sensitive. Like, I am into astrology, not just like reading my little horoscope in a magazine. Like there's a lot more to it. There's like your whole birth chart and everything, and it can get pretty complex and stuff like that. I my my sun and rising sun, which apparently are like the two most influential signs, I believe. Like I didn't realize for a while that like rising sun is like also really up there with, I don't know, influencing your chart or something. Like both my sun and rising sun are both in Gemini. Gemini rules the nerves. I feel pretty Gemini. Like when I do just read general Gemini stuff, like I said, there's like a whole chart, there's a whole to it. There's like a moon sign, a Saturn, a Venus, whatever. But I do really, really relate to the, like I'm really Gemini. Like I think Gemini's also, what is it, communication. There's something to do with nerves though, for sure. Like ruling the nerves, and then also something really strongly to do with communication. And then my moon is in Cancer, which Cancer is known, from what I know, to be like really sensitive. So yeah, I think the top most influential signs on your whole personality, I think are, yeah, sun, rising sun, and then also moon. Like moon's like the next one after sun. So I have this just shit going on in my body that's like, I obviously everyone has a different makeup. Like I'm just trying to figure out with the book, I'm resonating a lot with it. Like I do, like no one also just like holds all the answers, or there's still so much mystery and stuff like that, but I like to contemplate these things and form my own opinion in ways and that. So everything that this person has researched and investigated and stuff like that is like their like inflection of the topic and in their own research in their own way, and someone else might come to a different conclusion or do different types of research or bring more things to the table in their own way. But the whole genetic thing, like this book is sort of making it sound like there really isn't much at all to genetics. Like it's saying that even a predisposition is kind of far like it still takes a lot of like a certain experience for predisposition to express itself or something. And then can't you even just like reverse a thing? Like it's just like so hard to say like that genetics, I think, plays a big role. Like we also just don't know a whole lot. But like I guess genetics is not astrology. Like those are two separate things. Like there's something maybe where I just have a thing going on that I'm more I just more intensely feel things, and then it's like, well, that could have come from my experience too. Like that maybe was not there when I was born, but I just like feel like I was born with an intensity. Like the emotions are intense for me. It's like it's more just feeling it. And so I think that's where I have tended to feel also alone or like hard to relate to people, because like it is just like hard for you to understand. Like I've known a person that did not feel guilt or shame like ever in their life. They were diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder, and it seemed a bit perplexing to them that someone could feel guilt like for long periods of time or something like that, or just like have that, like they just didn't know what it is. So it is hard to relate when obviously you don't feel ways, or like I though feel that I'm trying to be mindful in it. Like I was able to I can't not feel the guilt and shame, so it's like I can never know what that's actually like. But I feel like at least cognitively it's sort of like I'm also like, oh, I see why she would be like sort of it'd be perplexing to be like, oh, someone doesn't feel, or someone feels this and that, and what would that be like in this and that. Like I just feel like I have a bit of an understanding or an acknowledgement, or like I'll be like, okay, this certain person is maybe not going to understand it because like they maybe don't feel things as intensely as me. But then like sometimes I just feel like because this friggin' culture normalizes not having the intense feelings as much or being more intensely connected to things or the energy or stuff like that, like I feel like the one thing is more normalized and more okay, and there's just a culture and a vibe about it, versus the other way it's just sort of like you are the like that exception or the outsider, or it's not overtly that, obviously people aren't like saying that at all or excluding it, but it's like the culture. And well, we know that this world seems to like thrive on people disconnecting from their body and serving a big business and not having, you know, their own bodily autonomy, and having it's, if you are working a certain job that is kind of soul crushing, to cope with it and to get through it, you kind of got to numb out and you got to disconnect from your own feelings or whatever. Like you're not going to last long if you actually, I feel, embrace your true feelings and stuff like that. And shit needs to change because it's annoying as fuck. I'm done with it. I'm annoyed. I'm hoping the AI can relieve people. Like I have like survivor's guilt, almost like survivors of the workforce guilt, like that I don't work, like I can't, I'm so crazy like working a shift, like I somehow got through it for a certain amount of years at different times. I had so many different jobs, like I would just have a full mental breakdown in the middle of a shift in the middle of a restaurant, like embarrassing. Couldn't, I just like, even it's just like I was confused too of like, okay, is that my like, will I ever be able to do that? Like, is this like a, if I healed the mental illness, would I be able to like deal with all these different people all day and like do the fake thing and be like, hello, welcome, and then like not be a real person and like be customer servicey or something like that? Like, I just have to like heal the anxiety, but it just seems like it go, like I'm just like, I was never meant to do, like I don't, I like my, I don't know, I feel it so much more, like I lose my fucking sense of self, like I would be somewhere for too many hours dealing with too many people and like the anxiety of it all, and that like even if I feel like I didn't have as much social anxiety, it would still feel that. But at the same time, it kind of like, it just like fully directly related, it goes fully hand in hand almost. It's sort of like, this is my true me and myself, but the world or like the culture had like wanted me to do this thing, at least in the workforce. Like I don't know of a job like besides say YouTube or something where you can be your own boss or have your own business and do things the way you want. Like obviously there's maybe special places, like you can find a farm with chill cool people that are like okay with you deciding more of how much you work or something. Like I don't know, it's hard to find a place of work, in my opinion, if you're an ultra sensitive deep person, like to do a thing. Like I just, things like today was a lot obviously happened today, but even on days that not a lot happened, like one thing, like it just takes me out sometimes, and I try not to be consumed by the energy, and I try to chill, and I try to like protect myself from it. But again, I'm just more affected and intense, so it's like my day a lot, like it just gets derailed by the intense thing or feeling, and it's hard to just like complete what I set out to do that day, and blah, blah, blah. Like I just don't know where, like I'm, for one thing, I so now respect my, like I cannot make plans ahead of time, kind of, so like we pencil it in when I plan things. Like I don't know, even the day of, like I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen, that like it can't, like that morning I might be like, yeah, let's totally go for like a walk at 3 o'clock or something. I don't know what is gonna happen. Like something, I might feel like a complete 180, like I don't want to be around, and I can't be around anyone, like halfway through the day it might completely flip and be the total friggin' opposite completely. And so yeah, it's just like things here are done a certain way, things on planet Earth are done a certain way, and I'm not like that, and I'm different, but I'm sure obviously a lot of people feel how I feel, or similar, or like, I don't know. Well, there's a reason why we have such a opioid crisis, and there's a reason why we have so much mental health issues and this and that, and it's just like, it's just going up. It's only going up because, first of all, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know how to treat it. They won't even, it's just like, it's a chemical imbalance, like, okay. And also, I don't want to, if that's how you feel, that is your truth. But, and like, maybe some instances, yes, you are chemically, there's, you know, chemical issues that, but like, when they can't actually test or prove it, the book talks about how there is no science behind that with like psychiatric illnesses. Like, maybe you have a virus or a disease, like the virus is affecting your brain, it's in your brain, okay, you got a chemical something going on in your brain that actually shows on a scan or a test or something. As far as I know, I'm not an expert, but according to this book and its sources and its facts that it states, is, yeah, there's no evidence for the whole chemical imbalance thing. And I feel like I've known that's bullshit for so many years, and that's why I refuse to go at the time that I end up in the psych ward. Like, you know, my psychiatrist wanted to put me, even though the antidepressant I was on like caused me to end up there ultimately, because I had a really bad reaction and my symptoms actually got really worse and it got real sketch there. She then wanted to put me on an antidepressant and a mood stabilizer. She didn't like tell me directly there's a chemical imbalance in your brain, but I had like a friend that was there that was told to just take her sleeping pill no matter what every single night, even if she could just like sleep without it, because of this like chemical imbalance bullshit thing that no one was measured. That was just a thing that there was no evidence for that to be like. It was so weird to me. It's so weird to me that like a doctor, I just sort of, maybe I don't know, I just like made a comment or asked about it. I didn't tell her not to take it. Maybe I asked her about it one night because she just like diligently like took a specific sleep pill every night, and I think we were just like pretty open with our stuff for that. And so yeah, I just remember her telling me that she's supposed to take it every single night no matter what. And I just didn't really say anything in that, but I just internally, I just was like worried, like that's sort of a dependence, and it just makes no, logically, it just makes like, maybe it's because you get withdrawal if you don't take it, so you have to keep taking it even if you're already sleepy and you don't need it, but because you'll get a withdrawal. But then it's just sort of weird, like if you had a chemical imbalance in your brain and these things are actually helping and like balancing the balance, why do you have to keep taking them? Because you're always having the imbalance in your brain, I guess. Like, where the fuck's it coming from then? Why does no one care where it's coming from? There's a chemical imbalance in your brain just cuz, and you just like need this like synthetic chemical pharmaceutical thing that was made in a lab that has a patent on it that makes people millions of dollars. You need that to make your level normal. Like, you have to live with that thing, when obviously human beings for centuries have like not known to need synthetic whatever chemicals. But like, there's one med that I've briefly spoken about, like the ADHD meds and stuff. The other day I did take a bit of Ritalin that I have prescribed to me for ADHD stuff, like when I was in a really big rut and trying to, I was just really desperate. I was like on the vicious cycle of the junk food and the not sleeping and properly exercise, and then junk food, and like I was like in the throes of like a bit of an addiction. Like, it doesn't ever solve it though. Like, I've figured out way better ways, and it's just like, not like, I'm aware, like I'm using it as this like, I just never wanted to get dependent on a thing. And I always knew like that medication can cause like heart issues and stuff. There's people that cannot take it anymore because they get like a heart condition, and I've always been worried. And whatever that, like, I just use it as like maybe the lesser of two evils some days. It's like, you know, iced cappuccino with a bunch of sugar, and caffeine that maybe makes me a little bit more jittery and like less of like a sustained like stimulant and focus, like that versus the Ritalin thing. But like I've never personally myself, I know medication does the like help a lot of people with their symptoms. Like I personally was just like, this is no type of solution. Like I just knew my brain doesn't need this. Like I did feel though, I was like, oh yeah, I'm like low in dopamine and this, and then I thought about that, thinking, I don't know, I'm kind of like rethinking that because there's a book on the same guy, Gabriel Maté, wrote a book on ADHD, and he briefly touches on it and has touched on it. And he's also not like all against meds or anything like that. And he's taking them himself, I think, like antidepressants. But like it's obviously doing something. It's like affecting that part of your brain. It's giving it that thing that is beneficial, that helps. But obviously, in my opinion, like it's just like, are you living that way then forever, getting that chemical? And that, like, there is a possibility, I fully just believe, is like there's the root of the thing, like it's not, I just don't believe in like you have to take this thing forever, and like there's no other way, there's no other solution. Like in a rut, in a low spot, in a dire place, like definitely these types of medications have even like saved people's lives before. But like it is just so normalized, like the long-term treatment with these medications. And I know antidepressants specifically, like why I will only psych med I will take, like ever since the psych ward, I didn't take anything for so many years, and then I only will take I had Concerta, which is like the same thing as Ritalin, basically like long release, and like I just don't even like how that sort of made me feel like I don't want it to be in my body that long. Like I'm good with like just a few hours maybe. And but oh yeah, so the antidepressants, like they also stay in your system. Like I've heard stories that it's really intense, like the withdrawal getting off of them if you're on them like long term. So what I'm more okay with dealing with, if I were to use the Ritalin or whatever as a tool to try to get out of a rut, is the fact that like I don't get withdrawal. I can just like take it one day, not take it, or it's just as effective. I take it, I don't take it for like 3 months or something, and it's just as, there's no there's no dependence or addiction or this or anything that I've experienced. So but I am wanting to resolve more and figure out more of the root of the problem, specifically with those symptoms and like motivation and focus and whatever. And obviously it's like, it's obviously because like I'm still in process of sort of resolving and like healing the emotional trauma stuff. Like it's so obvious to me that like the triggers that I get and stuff that causes these anxieties, and it can be subconscious, that like I check out like during this talk, like I've checked out mentally, or like can't maybe stay focused or lose my train of thought, or like I have a need to like, because they'd be like stimulated, and then I get like bored of it and then want to switch it. And like obviously to me that is like a result of the trauma or whatever, like that, like the like uncomfortable with things being still or whatever it is. So but oh my god, it's heating up in this car like a sauna, and I think I've had enough of talking. So yeah, that was a bit of a blur. It just sort of took on a life of its own. Like I don't know, it's just interesting what happens with these chats that, you know, I have a little bit of a topic in mind at some time, and then it sort of, it goes where it goes. And but we're doing okay. And so that's what's going on today. Take care, everyone, and be kind to yourself.